Nandipha Magudumana will be back in the High Court in Bloemfontein in the Free State tomorrow. The accomplice and girlfriend of convicted murderer and rapist Thabo Bester now wants her deportation from Tanzania to South Africa declared unlawful. The pair had fled the country after news broke of Bester's elaborate escape from the Mangaung Correctional Center last year, before finally being arrested in Tanzania and then returned to South Africa. But now Magudumana says this was an abduction and not a deportation. Well, building up to this case tomorrow, I'm joined now by senior reporter Sli Masikane, who's been watching this story for weeks now. Sli, good afternoon. Welcome to today, and thank you very much for my time. I see you are very ready there outside the Free State High Court tomorrow, where Nandipha Magudumana will be appearing again to say, I was not deported, but I was abducted.
Certainly so. We will be back here at the Free State High Court, where Dr. Nandipha has launched an urgent court application, essentially saying that the South African Police Services kidnapped her in Tanzania and brought her back to face, of course, the charges she's facing in the Magistrates Court, which is just next door. We know, of course, that she's been implicated as being Bester's partner, that she fled the country before authorities apprehended them in Tanzania. But just to unpack this urgent court application, I am joined by two legal experts, Mr. Alton Hart from the UJ Law Clinic, as well as Mpumelelo Zigalala. Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen. Let's just start with urgency. Now, we understand, of course, that's the hurdle that Dr. Magudumana is going to have to get past before we can actually talk about the merits of this case. I want to bring in Mr. Hart. Do you think this matter is urgent?
No, obviously, if we're shooting for a wrongful and unlawful detention, which says that literally I'm not supposed to be in custody, I need to enjoy my constitutional freedoms as entrenched in the Constitution, then obviously it becomes urgent, because it means that I'm currently being held where I'm not supposed to be, which infringes upon my rights, my family life, and all those type of things. So it sort of becomes urgent. So it will be difficult, but I think there's enough for her to prove that there's urgency. She has been in custody since around about the 6th of April, or in detention since the 6th of April. So she's been taken away from her liberties and whatever she is supposed to enjoy in the country, or in Africa for that matter. So for me, I think there is urgency, because it's a person's personal liberties and freedoms that's been taken away, and it cannot be easily just deprived without due or a cause.
Mr. Zigalala, let me bring you in now. Do you think this matter is urgent, or do you think the High Court is going to ask Magudumana whether or not she has perhaps sought alternative relief like bail?
In fact, this is one of the points which are going to be looked at by the court, in terms of saying, if you are coming here on an urgent basis, is there a right that I need to protect? Let me look at the balance of probabilities. The facts that you've given to me, do they present a picture in which you are saying you are right and the state is wrong? But most importantly, are you going to suffer irreparable harm? Not only harm, the harm must be irreparable. And lastly, alternative remedies that are there. Now, look at it in this instance. You are in jail since April up until now. You are given ample opportunities to apply for bail. You are the one who's denying and saying that I'm not going to be part and parcel of those bail applications. To me, certainly, it seems as if the agency is missing in this matter. If you have to prove so, then you have to provide hurdles and say, from the day in which I was incarcerated up until the day I'm coming to court today, what exactly has been the sequence of events that have taken place? Was the agency kept alive, or is it urgent only to you as the applicant, and in the eyes of the court it's not urgent? If you haven't proved those particular four principles, at the end of the day, you are going to have a very difficult task in proving urgency.
Let's get into the merits then, gentlemen. Mr. Hart, we're told in her papers that she's claiming that she was, abducted by police officers from South Africa who were out of their jurisdiction, and subsequently she uses the word extradited, which I think is what's really going to make this particular application quite interesting, whereas we have the state claiming deportation, but Dr. Nandipha believes she was extradited.
Now, when we look at both processes entail a lot of administrative things that needs to happen. Be it the state says that she was deported or she was extradited. Yeah, for me, it looks like this was extradition disguised as deportation. But even so, if she was deported, then it should be the Tanzanian government being the initiating party to say, listen, yeah, you are an undesirable person because you have violated one of our immigration laws, or you are busy carrying or conducting criminal activities, or you are just a danger to our public safety, and it's not in the public interest to hold you in our country. Then the Minister of Home Affairs, the Minister of Internal Affairs in Tanzania, can then make a decision to say that we are going to deport you, and then give notice to the person who is going to be deported that we're going, and you can appeal it. And once that appeal is maybe rejected, then a deportation order is granted. Then the immigration officials of Tanzania then takes you to the nearest port of entry of South Africa and hand you over to the immigration officials, which is clear in this case on the minister's own version, Aaron Motsoaledi. He said, we chartered a flight that was subsidized by 3 ministries, Home Affairs, Police, and Justice, to bring back these people. So they are tied. And for me, I can just see that is where I say the arrest and detention, then it speaks to wrongful arrest and detention, because the deportation processes was not followed. If you want to say extradition, that is even a more stringent process. So for me, even going and saying, okay, I will then go and apply for bail, it will then extinguish this claim that she has that her arrest, her detention is unlawful, because she's saying, I don't even want to partake in the bail proceedings because I feel my detention is unlawful and wrongful, and hence I don't want to. And I see that the harm that she has suffered already is irreparable, because you cannot turn back the hands of time. So for me, that's why I look at it. And of course, it's clear that South African police officers were there, South African Defence Force people were there, brought her back. And that's not how I know deportation to work. The Tanzanians need to bring her to our ports of entry, hand her over to immigration, and then from immigration, if there's pending cases or whatever she's being charged with, then the IO will come and charge us. And listen, I'm charging you with violating a body, aiding and abetting a escaped convict, those type of things. So that's where I see merits is sort of half, in my view. She's got merit. She's got something to challenge here.
Let me bring you in, Mr. Zigala. I know you may have a slightly different view. We don't really know what happened or what transpired before Dr. Nandipha was brought back into the country. Speak to me about the allegations that she's making and the fact that we did see the Home Affairs Ministry, in essence, demanding to be respondents in this matter. You've had a look at the papers. What is the likelihood that the High Court could not only set aside her arrest, but the legal proceedings she's facing in the Magistrates Court?
I think let's start here and let's understand the manner in which the court will look at these papers when they're submitted. The court will say, because you are the applicant, you are making those allegations, I'm relying on you to bring as much information as possible so that I'm able to make a decision on paper without hearing anyone talk about evidence that indeed what you're saying is true, and I should really protect your interest and rights as you have stated. Now, in this particular case, the Minister of Home Affairs is saying that I should be part and parcel of it, but the manner in which he should look at it is to say, is there any requirement or any action that should be required for me in these particular proceedings? Is there any specific performance which is directed to me as the Minister of Home Affairs? If there's none, then I have no business being part and parcel of these allegations. Unless allegations have been made about me and my department, only then will I come in and say to the court, I need to defend the integrity and the manner and the procedure that was followed by my department in executing all these things that have been stated about me. But now, you see, if you then go into the sequence of events as to how the arrest took place, that is when you need information which can only be provided by these departments, which can only be provided by the police. Now, that information has not been made yet available to Dr. Magudumana at this stage. If you have received the full docket, it's within your possession, The charges have been provided to you, even your Bill of Rights as to when you were signed and when did you acknowledge that your rights have been read to you has been submitted to you, and all the other things which make it easier for you to prove that in court. Then I would say you stand a much better chance of proving the irregularities that have taken place. You stand a much better chance of proving all the other things that have been broken or the laws that have been broken in the manner that you have brought into this country. Now, if you are challenging, saying that someone did not comply with the law, be very careful as to which side of the country, which side of the continent are you in. Are you alleging that the Tanzanian government did not follow proper procedures? If that's the case, then that's the case that should be fought in Tanzania. Alleging that the South African government that did not follow procedures, then you're in the right place. And then you must state who has done wrong, who ought to have done what, and what actually happened on the day. And that's where the controversies are now taking place. If you go to court on a civil action, remember, this is now turned from a criminal process into a civil one. If you go this, put it on an urgent basis, on an application, provide all the information which is required, because the court is not going to engage in a process of trying to extract information on your behalf so that it makes a complete picture. It's your responsibility as the applicant to do that.
Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Those are legal experts, Mr. Alton Hart and Mr. Mpumelelo Zikalala, just giving us some insights and unpacking that urgent application by Dr. Nandipha Magudumana, who we are expecting to possibly make her way here to the High Court. We are expecting court proceedings to start at around 10 a.m. tomorrow, and of course we will be bringing you those visuals live here on eNCA DSTV channel 403. It's back to you in studio, Badan.
Thank you very much. Sli Masikane will be with you in court tomorrow watching the developments. It's a very, very interesting case, this one. Sli Masikane outside the High Court in Bloemfontein. Now,